This is True Buzz, that Mary J. Now we ain't new to this. For my stoners and for my cannabis enthusiasts, never heard a show as good as this. Number one, it's the best. Bringing in many special guests in the industry of cannabis. Business owners to growers, even artists you know of. So sit back and just roll up. Perfect show for my smokers. True Buzz, hey.
Hey everybody, welcome to the True Buzz Show podcast. I'm pumped up for this one. We got Garett from Hit Kit today. I was blown away when I saw this, and I've been using it, Garett, dude, all the time, man. Keep it in my pocket. I go on hikes. Nice just to have it. I went out last night for some dinner, had it in my pocket afterwards, lit one up, man. So you're killing it with the Hit Kit game, man. And thanks for coming on today.
Dude, I appreciate it. And by the way, I just saw what you had in your hand, and I can tell you that's already outdated technology. That piece of plastic there is all 3D printed. Since then, I have made the technological jump to injection molded parts.
Okay.
So I need to send you some, get you high tech, you know?
Nice, man. Yeah, I'm stoked because yeah, whenever I've showed it to people, the orders we've gotten through the website, everybody's enjoyed it so far. So yeah, I'm excited to see, and that's awesome that you're always innovating, man. And I think maybe that's a good way to start out, kind of is like, what was your initial idea with Hit Kit? How did it start? And I imagine there's some cool stories there.
Let's see. I guess to start with Hit Kit, I got to go back before Hit Kit. This really isn't my first venture into making devices, things for the cannabis space. Back in 2015, I started a mason jar bong company called Glass Lung Pipes. And the bong I have with me right here, actually I designed this one after Glass Lung. Well, I'll have to get into that story in a minute. But I guess how Glass Lung got going back in the day. So I've got an engineering background. As soon as I got out of school, I wanted to go somewhere far away from home just for the sake of adventure. And I found my way to a manufacturer of polyester resin with a plant in Paris, California. So I moved out to Moreno Valley. Every day I'd go to work. They had like this big gate saying like, warning, go beyond this point, you're going to get cancer. So I just kind of always joked that I was going to either get cancer or superpowers, one or the other. Like all the superhero movies were big at the time. But I'm working there. I enjoy the job. It was cool. But at a certain point, you have to think like, all right, what's my future in this company? Like, where do I want to go from here? And while I liked my current position, like everything above me just kind of seemed soul sucking. And the guy, in fact, that I was like directly under my manager, he was basically like my personality, but older. And I could see that they had sucked the soul out of him in many ways. And I was like, God, I don't want that to be me. So around this time, like I just moved to California. My upbringing, I'm from Georgia, the South. Attended like a Christian school from like 3rd to 12th grade. So like the don't do drugs thing was like very much ingrained in me. I didn't really know much about cannabis, marijuana, any of that. I just kind of like lumped it in as drugs. I mean, it's ignorant to say that, but I mean, that's kind of how it was. But when I got to California, it was just kind of like a win in Rome sort of thing. And ended up developing a liking for cannabis. This is kind of funny. I was dating a girl at the time, and she, like, I wanted to share that, like, I had this new discovery, this enthusiasm. I wanted to share it with her, right? And but she didn't want to smoke because it like hurt her lungs, made her cough. So I'm like, well, I think I've heard about something called a bong. I think that can do something with that. I don't know how it works or anything, but let me go into the smoke shop that's like a minute from where I live and see what they got. And I walked in there, and that's kind of like when I started to understand like what a bong was, how it worked. I was like, you want me to pay $80 for this? Like, I think I can make something on my own. So at this point, I'm about 24 years old. I go home and I start making the classic Gatorade bong and all that. Not too long after that, I discover on Reddit there's like a subreddit called Stoner Engineering, And so I start like kind of getting more inspiration for other ideas, and the quality of my craft increases. And eventually I'm posting there. And I made this crazy gravity bong. I took one of those large Kraken rum bottles. I found a way to cut off the bottom. I went to the local Petco. I found like a SpongeBob SquarePants pineapple. I put it inside it. So basically, I had this I had like fake rocks at the bottom. Basically, I replicated SpongeBob's house in a Kraken bottle and made it into a gravity bong. And I posted this online, and this was like, it surprised me. Um, people were saying like, I'd pay money for this. And so I started doing the math, and I was like, man, if I could just make something like this and sell 7 or 8 a day, like I'm making as much as I am at my engineering job. Like I might have another path here. Maybe I need to explore this. So for the next year and a half, like as a secret side hustle, like my double life, I'm working on this bond company. And soon after, I'm trying to think about like what I can make. And mason jars just kind of became like the perfect thing, because like I think bongs are best when they're glass, in large part because like the visual, you can see the smoke inside. So mason jars got that covered. Also, you break a mason jar, it's like easy to screw on another one. But I had this realization that I can just build everything into the lid, attach a mason jar, and you got a cheap, durable bong, um, classic mason jar look. Like this design has stood the test of time. And glass lung pipes just kind of came about, and it did, after a year and a half of like secret labor, it did become my full-time job. um, I left California then because cost of living's kind of high, but I went up to Reno, Nevada. I wanted to snowboard. I was like, I've got an internet-based business, I can live anywhere, this looks like a good place for adventure. um, from there, I lived in Reno for about 2 years, but I didn't really know anyone there when I moved there. And like Reno's got this time of the year when the mountains are covered with snow, so you can't really hike them. But at the same time, like the ski slopes are closed, so it's just kind of like this awkward time in spring where there's not as much to do outside. Maybe there is. Maybe I just wasn't creative enough to find it. But in any case, I got kind of depressed, and I was like, I need to just step back. And I gave the business to a friend of mine out there. He ran it for the next couple of years. I moved back to Georgia. My family's got a business out here selling and repairing tow trucks. So I was like, you know what? I've avoided this my whole life. Maybe I need to give this a shake, actually. But in any case, HitKit came about. Um, Probably about a year or so after that. I just kind of needed a way to scratch that creative itch. I already knew a lot about making products for the cannabis industry. I guess glass alone kind of made it into a specialty of mine. Um, I didn't want to just do the same old thing again, and I didn't want to compete against my old business because I mean my friend was running it. I mean I was kind of supporting him in the background. But yeah, I guess to summarize what HitKit is, whereas before I was doing bongs, now I'm kind of dedicated to joints. So ways to transport joints, blunts, whatever you want to smoke, rollable things, and a lighter, have it all in one place. Um, and just I try to build like some clever functionality into everything. Um, like I'm making gadgets, and I think like all people who smoke, stoners, whatnot, they appreciate a good gadget. So everything's kind of unique in a way. I got this one over here, kind of like a Swiss Army knife, the way it unfolds, and there's like magnets that hold it together. Um, I mean, there's like a lot of ways to go. It's a very open-ended problem to solve, and I just appreciate the design challenge. Started moving to stash boxes a little bit, but anyway, I guess that's the backstory. I've rambled on a bit.
No, I appreciate that background there. And I was checking out the stash boxes today. I actually went on your website. I know we connected through Etsy, but we're just kind of checking that out. But yeah, man, I truly love the hit kit, but I think that's an amazing story too. the whole background there and how Hit Kit was developed. You know, like you're saying, it started before Hit Kit, the inspiration. So that's super cool, man. You know what I put in here too? For the first time, I always put joints in here because that's what it's made for. But I had a little I had a little chill up, like a little oney, right?
Oh, okay.
So I slid this little thing. Sorry, my computer keeps blowing out, but it's a little one hitter and it slid right in perfectly. And I haven't smoked like a little bat in a while, but I was like, oh, that's cool. So I had like two of my smaller joints and then a bat in there as well. So I was like, oh, that's cool. So I'm still finding like other functionality, even just getting it recently.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me. Like you design it for one thing, and then people discover other ways it can be used. Like I didn't think of that, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I have it.
Huh.
And then yeah, how do you put is the engraving just like is that like etched in there through one of your machines, or how does that work?
Yeah.
Just curious.
So all these HitKit products, they're made in a spare bedroom. You can see the 3D printers behind me, but the machine that does that, I have a CNC laser, and it's not in frame right now, but it's kind of over there by the window. But basically, it can cut and engrave plywood. So what I like about that, like I think just 3D printed products alone are kind of not aesthetically pleasing. But like when you can add wood to a product, when you can do custom engravings, like I mean the art potential is endless there. So I think a big part of like HitKit's success thus far is that I've been able to kind of do that mixed media sort of deal.
Some of those
Like it, yeah.
designs, oh, sorry to interrupt. I was gonna say, to your point, some of those designs I was looking at when I initially saw Hit Kit, I was like, wow, like there was some cool looking art on there. So it's cool how like you could get really intricate on the front and make it your own.
Oh yeah, thank you. In fact,
Yeah,
coming up, so recent idea, this hasn't launched yet, so y'all are hearing it first. But
nice.
in addition to my stock designs, I want to start working with artists and have like limited edition things. I don't know if you can read this well. It says like limited edition. This one says 00 out of 30.
Yeah, yeah.
But just kind of to take advantage of that machines available to make art, I can be like go to an artist and say like, hey, let's make something exclusive to Hit Kit, put it on a Hit Kit, and then only make 30 of them ever.
I
And
love it.
yeah, I don't know. It's just trying to get creative. I think that'll be a good way to make it a little more special, get it out there, make it a product people can connect with and value.
Totally. Yeah. I love that idea a lot. You know, I had these cannabis company, one of my favorites out here, Source Cannabis. They do super quality cannabis. But they every year they've released like it looks like a book, and they do the same thing, 1 out of 500, but they give it to their employees. Usually I was honored to get one. But it was kind of that cool concept. I still have it. I'm holding on to it, or else if it didn't have that kind of maybe that limited number to it, you know, whatever number I got out of the 500, maybe I wouldn't still be holding it. But it kind of added that little extra piece for me, like, oh, I'm 1 out of the 500, you know, or like 1 out of the 30. It just adds that cool appeal, I feel like, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and these artists, like they have their own fans, their own following. So it's kind of like it's like when you buy it, it's like the artist is getting a good cut too. So it's like I'm supporting my favorite Instagram artist's work. So and like a lot of these people posting their art on Instagram, I mean, they're not big corporations or anything. So it's like a way for me to work with like individuals. Like I feel like HitKit, my company, it's just me. I'm a little guy, so I mean, it's kind of a grassroots little thing. Work with people in a similar boat,
That's
but
what it's all
rising
about, man.
tide lifts all ships.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it's all about. And if you don't mind me asking, you know, just curious, where do you think like on all the platforms and everything you're on, like what has maybe given you some of the best traction you've gotten with HitKit, or kind of gotten you out there the most? Or, you know, I'm just always curious to learn. I'm especially like you're saying, it's kind of you're running the ship, so I'm just curious to see what's worked well for you in the process.
I've got a love-hate relationship with Etsy. Up until recently, it was mostly love. But basically, as soon as I started putting my products there, it started taking off. But I've got one design in particular. It's the OG Hit Kit, and there's no real work on my end. It's all injection molded. It is a mass producible thing. but I guess it's kind of going to be kind of to share one of the challenges of manufacturing. Long story short, China ripped off my idea, and within the past few months, I saw other people posting my products on Etsy, and then in the past couple of weeks, I don't know if these other sellers like reported my product, but Etsy took down my listing, and then the people selling the knockoff are still there. So I've been looking for ways to kind of diversify and not depend on Etsy, because clearly there's no just rule of law there. But Instagram's been a big one. I recently bought some ad space with Leafly, but I'm about a week into that, so it's kind of too soon to tell either way. Been trying to put my stuff on Amazon, eBay, just basically the big selling platforms. I feel like there's a lot of potential to be had with TikTok, but I think I'm too old to understand that, so I haven't really delved into that. I know if you advertise there your products, you gotta kind of be creative. Like, and if you do anything like that remotely hints, well, not if it's like too weed like, they're gonna give you the boot. But I saw someone on there getting like fruit roll-ups and nerds and like making little joints with that. And so I mean that might be something I need to explore later. But yeah, anyway, long story short, as far as social media goes, Instagram's been the big one. I kind of feel like the age demographic I'm trying to sell to, that's kind of like I'm 33, so I think like plus or minus 5, 6, 7 years of that, that's going to be like most of my customers anyway. So I think Instagram's where those people are at. You know, people older than that are on Facebook. People younger than that seem to be on TikTok. But as far as like, yeah, I think Instagram. That's what I'm doing. That's what I know.
I get it too, and that's kind of crazy too about the Etsy situation. And I'll probably clip this part out because I feel like that's something cool too that you have that nobody coming in who's kind of copying your stuff has, is your story that we've been talking about already, and the fact that you're kind of, it is your business, it's your baby. And I feel like with that message out there, I would definitely rather purchase from you than somebody who's kind of copying you, some copycat, so yeah, I think I want to clip that out. I feel like that's something cool
Oh,
too, to bring up probably as more people, I imagine that people are going to try to copy everything you do. This hit kit's really dope, just that story is cool that you have, and nobody else can take that from you. So just giving you extra props on that.
hey, keep it in. In fact, this is kind of funny. When I saw the copycats were kind of gaining traction and stealing a lot of my sales, I was like, I'm gonna pull the rug out from under them. I'm just gonna sell these basically at cost. And like if I can't have it, they can't have it. And shortly after I did that, I think that's when they reported me. And they said, like, I think Etsy's got some rule that they never enforce, very selectively enforce, but about like handmade products. And this one is clearly not handmade, it's mass produced injection molded. But that's the reason that Etsy gave me as to why mine got banned. But yeah, I was trying to fight back by undercutting them. I've still got this item for very cheap on my website. So I mean, not only are you supporting me by getting it there, but you're getting a better price than anywhere. I'm not making anything on those. I'm just doing this out of spite at this point. So my spite is everyone else's gain.
Hey, I love it. I'm gonna be hopping on after this Zoom
Yeah,
here.
this is funny. That product on the website says the price is $6.90. It's crossed out sale 420.
Nice.
Yeah, so I guess I went to Elon Musk's school of pricing.
Hey man, I love what you're doing, dude. Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting to see that. That's a crazy thing about the cannabis space as a whole too, that I've, just making content, have had to deal with. And I always say, like, that's the beauty of it to me, is the forced creativity in a lot of ways. In cannabis, you can't do a lot of the typical things, so it's forced a lot of the cannabis industry to be creative. But like when I'm looking at the hit kit and when I first saw it too, I could I think like, I could see this being on like the POS display at dispensaries, like a little add-on, like customized. I feel like there's so many cool things you can do. Then, you obviously made one for Autumn Brands when they're selling online. Like, I just think there's so much value, like you're saying, with the customization aspect with it, apart from the utility. That's super dope.
Yeah, that was part of the incentive to get that laser in the first place because I was thinking about brands down the road. And honestly, like for a small scale business, just like one person, it's kind of like, how can I find force multipliers like that? Like, if I'm going to be able to get in a smoke shop or something, like they're not going to be as interested if I can't put their branding on it. So, yeah, that laser's big. Um,
Uh-huh. Well, it's funny because my little brother and I, we had a motorized bicycle business when we were in high school, and on our gas tanks, my brother-in-law had an engraving business. So on our gas tanks, he was so cool. He'd hook us up $5 to a really nice custom engraving, but we'd do JRW motorized engraved on it. We put our contact on there, but it felt like us at that time was a cool separator because like other people weren't kind of engraving the gas tanks like that. So it was just a nice little add on. That's probably part of why I'm so in love with it too.
no, you're absolutely right. And one thing I learned from that resin job I had, part of my job was to go to, I was like basically a professional troubleshooter. Um, they'd send me to people's factories when their factories were when the resin wasn't working right. I'd have to try to figure it out. So I got to see the inner workings of tub and shower manufacturers, boat manufacturers, countertops, a lot of stuff. And what I discovered, the kind of realization I had was like behind, like every company, they got like this public face, like this big logo, it's professional. But and you kind of most people they kind of see that and it just kind of stops there. It kind of adds to that air professionability, right? You don't see the messiness behind the scenes, and every company's got some degree of messiness. But when it comes to like branding and stuff, like if I can put like a nice, pretty logo on it, like with an engraving, nobody knows I'm doing this in a spare bedroom. Um, I don't know if that's good or bad, but I mean, it's just kind of like it just kind of cracks me up every time I get an email and people are just kind of like using like y'all or like you all like plural stuff like damn like they think this is a big company like I must be doing something right if I got them fooled.
Hey, you definitely are, man. And I love the fact that you're like so honest and transparent with everything. I think that's part of the beauty of the brand too, is that like we're saying that whole, the backstory of it that nobody can ever take. There's people that maybe would be in your situation, be like, oh, I do have, a big group of, maybe make it up. I do have a group of an employees or something. So I have respect because I'm kind of the same way right now with what I do with True Buds. And that's part of, and I feel like that's relatable to people, especially, and that's why I was excited to have you on. Cause I'm sure people listening or watching this are interested in maybe making something, doing a side hustle, some type of business. And that's what I'm huge on, I guess, is like all it really takes is just like doing it. And my big thing lately is like I have good ideas, but a lot of them I don't act on. So my thing is just like I have this idea I'm working on right now. I'm just like act on it, go as fast as possible, put more like dates in line, make it happen. Cause I've had so many ideas and they just kind of, oh, that's cool. And you don't act on it. So props to you for, keeping it up after the bong business, man. It could have been easy to be like, oh shit, man, whatever, but you kept doing it and now you got hit kit. So that's awesome.
Man, I needed it, it's fun. But yeah, I think the secret to everything, the thing that most people lack is that ability to take action. You don't need to ask anybody's permission to start a company, just dive in and do it. And if people like it, they'll buy it. If not, they'll move on. And if they're not buying it, that just means maybe you need to tweak something. Maybe you need to just keep doing what you're doing until they're like, I don't know. But like if the passion's there, if you believe in what you're doing, it's just a matter of time. And also it's like once you get started acting on it, it's like you're refining your craft, you're getting better. It might not be the best product ever initially, but if you've been working at it for like 6 months, a year, um, you're gonna get pretty darn good at whatever you're trying to do. But
Respect.
some of my I think about like my early bong prototypes. Good God. Um I came a long way with that.
Yeah, you're bringing me back to some of the fun ones I'd make, but it didn't look as cool. It looked like you had like a lighter built into the side of the
Okay,
bong or something too.
I'm gonna give you the tour. So
Yeah,
this
let's do it.
one, I currently have it for sale on eBay because eBay doesn't seem to mind that sort of thing. If I were to put this on Etsy, they'd take it down. If I were to have it on my Shopify store, the payment processor would probably eventually find out and take down my whole site. So this is an eBay exclusive. It's the only place you're going to find it. This one also, I designed it after. So my friend who took Glass Long, it's kind of going. He ran it well for a couple of years, but I mean, in fact, that first year of COVID was the best year ever for him, me, anything in that business. But anyway, that's kind of his story, but it's not. He's kind of moved on to other things. So this design for I kind of designed it for Glass Lung, but Glass Lung never really got it because it went away. So it was kind of weird. It's like I have my favorite bong design I ever made, and for a couple of years, I was the only one who had it, who knew about it or anything.
That's
I
crazy.
think only a few people have found it on eBay, but the obvious features, I'm just kind of ruminating, but we've got a place in the mouthpiece for the lighter. So it kind of sits flush. It's like a little
That's
parking
sick.
spot.
That's sick.
That's essential. And I don't know how well you can see through the jar, but I've got a very unique star-shaped
Yeah, I'd
percolator.
never seen anything like that before.
And two good things about this. One, that star shape kind of provides me like a lot of surface area that I can put percolation holes. Um, excuse me. I think this one's got 60 percolation holes. And the other part, you can't see it, but the percolator is open on the bottom. So as you're smoking, ash will eventually kind of fall into the bong, get caught in the percolator and clog the holes, but not in this one. Because on this one, the bottom is open, so it just falls straight through to the bottom of the bong. I think this thing is uncloggable. I've never seen anyone make anything like it. Um, Maybe somebody will steal this idea someday, but this is my favorite bong that I've ever made. It's my daily driver.
I fucking
Let's,
love it, dude. I love,
let's see how this
and when you
goes.
showed me the bottom there, my thought was like a starfish. Reminds me of like a starfish
Yeah.
percolator.
So it is like a star. And so when I try to come up with a name for it, I try to put like little puns into everything. I call it the soul pipe, SOL. And that's like, is that Latin? I think it's the Latin word for sun. Sun is like star. And I kind of feel like soul, you throw a U in that word, SOUL. I mean, that's kind of got some metaphysical ramifications to it. So yeah, this is the soul pipe.
I love
And
it.
it's named based on that star.
And
But
and how much is that on you after you take your rip there? How much is that on, or before? How much is that on eBay?
this one, I think it's about $30 plus shipping. I
Word.
think shipping's about $8, so $38. This can be yours.
I love it, dude. I like the look of the actual bowl piece too. It has like a that matte, like that finish to it. Is that like painted on there? What, or is it just like a black? And dude, I'm feeling the mason jar idea too, because you can just replace those, throw it in the
Yeah,
dishwasher. Fucking, it's smart move, man.
simple, easy, classic. So this bowl, I did not design it. I don't know if you ever heard of these, but I'm totally gonna plug somebody else's products right now. I think it's their website is Bowls Official. That's BOWLZ. But this thing's got a lot of function in that it breaks apart. It's got
Shit,
magnets,
I've never
holds it
seen that shit,
together.
bro.
Yeah, you can clean it so easy. Not only that, but because it's not glass, I think it's like aircraft grade aluminum. It's unbreakable, will last you a lifetime. Um, Very fine work to those guys. I applaud them.
Hey man, that
I
was cool. I was not
appreciate good
expecting
design.
that. I was not expecting you to pull it in half like
Yeah,
that.
there's no going back. I think
I,
this is version one. I think they've moved on to like version three by now. So, but this one is
have
it's
you
good.
ever? I had him on the podcast couple years back. Have you ever seen or heard of those Vapor Brothers box vapes?
No, tell me.
They created, I smoked it back in Kansas City. It was like the first vape I smoked. It's like a wooden box. It has the whip on it, but they basically were the ones that pioneered. I don't know if you've seen them, kind of that wooden vape box look. Um, I'll,
Oh,
I'll send you the
is that
pod after.
similar?
There's
Sorry.
been a lot. There's been a lot of like people kind of knocking them off for a lot of years, but they've stayed pretty true to their original design. But I pictured and their story's super cool too. They just kind of did the same thing. Like, we're just gonna make what we like. Like, we want to make a vaporizer that hits like you're smoking a joint or something, or a bong. And they ended up making it. And then what gave him some cool traction is Woody Harrelson, I think, was one of the first like celebrities to hop on board with it, and that gave him a boost. But I just had so much respect, and your background story and of Hit Kit and everything reminds me of them. So I feel like that's the cool one. I'll send that over to you to check out too. But
Question for you. Is that similar to the Magic Flight launch box? Are you familiar with that one?
um it sounds like probably is like a wooden box. It's kind of like, I wish I had it next to me to show you.
Yeah, it's like rectangular, like a little box-like thing, very simple vape. Like the battery sticks out the side, you just squeeze it. I have one of those. I love that design. It's like simple, but I say that like in the most complimentary way. It's like no frills. It's just conduction heating of dry herb. Um, and that wood just makes it a thing of beauty. But um,
Yeah, I guess
for all
too,
I
like,
know, though, maybe they ripped off the people you're talking about. I don't know,
yeah.
but
And see,
maybe it's
that's where
different.
I'm not too sure either 100%. So I don't know either way, I guess. But I guess the cool thing is, like, you're doing, and like with showing this bong here that's on eBay and stuff, is and people come in on Etsy and taking ideas, is like, that's what I think about sometimes too. And I think the beauty of it, like I was saying earlier, is you have that story. But like, how does that work? Have you filed any patents or trademarks or anything? Or something I think is cool is just being the first mover, which I've done. Like, when I was doing some research, it's like, kind of, if you're the first mover and you can prove that you've like been selling this stuff, if it ever came to that point, that's a way to prove that basically you're the kind of the creator of it. But what's your opinion on trademarks, patenting, and all that stuff?
All right, so I guess a couple things. Um, First layer of defense. I try to be very transparent. Whenever I'm working on stuff, I post it to Instagram. And part of that is to share just because people like it. But the other thing, it gives me a solid timestamp showing, proving without any doubt, like, hey, I was working on this, I made this on this date, this time. Um, but beyond that, I do that design that was ripped off. It is patent pending. I have paid to get a patent made for that. But after the patent is filed, it takes between 1 and 3 years for the legal system to finalize everything and you get your protection. And up until the time that it's like officially filled and no longer patent pending, um, all you can do is basically try to scare people from stealing your stuff, saying like, "Hey, when this patent's through, um, you're going to be sued for whatever, blah blah blah." So but I mean, it's honestly just like fear is. It sounds cold, but I had to learn all this after I had my ideas stolen. But the way I look at it though, I try not to think about that stuff too much. The way I see it is like, I think it just kind of having a belief in yourself, like imitation is flattery, like rather than just being like fixated on that one design. I'm like, hell yeah, I can design something worthy of China copying. Like they can take all they want. I'm still moving forward. Like by the time what's crazy about that design? Like probably about like a few months after I had it all done, I started thinking of improvements. So I mean, in my mind, that design has been outdated for a long time, and they stole my outdated design. So maybe someday I'll release the 2.0 version and blow them out of the water. I mean, it's been done and in my head for a while. I just haven't had the. It's kind of expensive to have something injection molded, but I don't know. I just try to use that stuff, copycats, whatever, as fuel, just to for further inspiration. And whoever if you are a copycat or whatever, that tells me you're not a creative person. Like, I like to think that I can win on the economic battlefield. I don't know. I think that the bong's working, but
Well, you got that
I
edge
kind of
because you're
lost my.
always in it, always innovating, man.
Man, I'm just fired up.
Yeah,
Ah,
and well, and I have, yeah, and that's the thing, and I think I'm kind of pretty similar with what you're saying, and I respect the way you're going about it because you could live in like fear and not want to put something out in the public because somebody might steal, and then it'll just never really happen probably. So like, I feel like you just got to grind like you've been, and building it up is commendable, man. And when you're talking about the resin factories, it's interesting. I spent a summer working in a flow molding factory,
hmm.
and that was gave me a lot of cool insight, man, and just to like a lot of different things. But I'd never seen stuff made like that from plastic pellets extruded from these machines. We were working on making these recyclable chairs and stuff, so I wasn't kind of on that side, but it was just cool to see that whole process. It was definitely, and it was cool to see the company too. I was talking about them the other day. They still sell them as like magazine cutter knives. When magazines, they got big doing that, chopping all the pages, and then they pivoted to doing this recyclable flow molding. And I was just talking to I think it was my brother, I was just giving them props for being kind of ahead of the game, because if they didn't do that, their company could be dead from chopping magazines.
Yeah, I guess no matter what you make, like, yeah, I feel like if you're the first person to make something, because everything you make is to solve a particular problem, right? And I guess like the real innovator is the first one to identify the problem. Like everyone's had this problem, and but no one's thought to do anything about it. But once I put a product out there to try to solve that problem, then that's going to bring awareness to the problem, and other people are going to start looking at it, and they're going to be like, you know what, that's a good solution to it, but I think I have a better solution. And so I guess kind of like that first mover advantage gives you a head start. But I mean, people can be doing this, like, can be trying to solve the same problem for completely moral reasons. Like, I mean, like basically what I'm getting at, if you're successful, it's because you've found an important problem that needs to be solved. And once you do that, competition's gonna arise because it's a real problem. Yeah. Hey, this is crazy. eBay just said I sold one of those soul pipes.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh hey.
yeah. This isn't live, is it?
No, no, no.
I haven't sold one of those in like a couple of weeks. Damn.
Synchronicity right there, man. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
man, you put it out in the universe. I think I just had to say its name 3 times out loud, and voila.
Hey, for real, man, for real. And yeah, that was a super dope design. I really like how the lighter clipped in the edge there.
Dude, I'll
And
hook you up. I'll send you one.
yeah, man, please do. And that's why I want to figure out ways. It popped in my head. Something you were saying earlier is like, um, I was doing for Autumn Brands, actually going to farmers markets and doing these kind of swap meet like in person shows. I mean, I think one of those, I don't know if you've ever done anything like that for your product, but honestly think going to some of these like pop-ups like that, like in person, could be pretty cool. Like, and maybe we could work on that down the road. I'll be like, dude, let me send me some products. I'll just hit up one of these LA markets and see what we can hustle. But I'm down to help out and get your product out there any way that I can. Because you've been supportive over here, man. And I want to get some customs too for True Buds. I want to do some custom ones, maybe
Oh yeah.
sell them on the site or something. But I'm all just trying to think about ways we can keep collabing.
Dude, let's do it. I'll sign me up for all the above. Um, Man, one of the things I miss about being out west is like the whole cannabis scene. Like in Georgia, there's some stuff going on, but it's like a little more underground, sometimes kind of sketchy. But I feel like man, I did one here. I've done one event in person, and it was fine. But like I don't know, maybe this is just me being scared, but like some of the stuff out here, it's like everything's a secret location, and then they like email you where it is. Um, but I don't know, that just kind of seems a little sketchy to me.
Yeah, I've
Like
done.
I kind of, yeah,
I'm sorry,
like I
Don. I
feel
was
like
gonna
I'm
say.
taking a risk.
Well, yeah, exactly. I've done a couple of those out here, and it just seems a little, even though it's all like legit or whatever, it's still a little weird. But I feel like, dude, when people like when I first saw the hit kit, And there's one event in particular I've done. It's called Strains and Sounds. It's always a music kind of event. He has a lot of vendors there. Shout out SoCal Canna Bar who puts it together. But like everybody has booths. I could see this being like the perfect concert companion, or like I said, I'd do it on hikes, but I could see this fucking slinging at some of these like little events, man. I mean, I say little, this one has like 500 people usually, but I think there's some cool ways that we can that I can maybe help get a Hit Kit out here in LA.
I'm just kind of thinking out loud, but like the whole custom engraving aspect, like any vendor who wants to sell these, they can have their own exclusive art. Like they provide the art, I'll take care of it from there. So I mean, even if there's like multiple vendors at a place selling these, like they all have their own exclusive art. They really have unique products, and they can be branded unique to their brand.
Yeah, I
So
think
I mean,
the
I
new
think
drop thing too, I think could be really cool, especially for a company like, oh, we just dropped our new infused pre-rolls or something like
mm,
that. Getting the Hit Kit comes with it. Kind of like what we were doing with the smokers bundle. Hey, the Hit Kit's included. You get 3 ace and 3 of our grand pre-rolls. I think there's some really cool ways to get after it. But I just as you can tell, dude, I'm feeling your product, bro. So
I appreciate it. Yeah, I gotta send you the soul pipe, and I gotta send you the latest versions of the Swiss kit and the flamethrower. These turned out nice. These were like 7 months in the making. I want to say, yeah, started yeah, basically from the time I contacted the mold company saying like, hey, I want to make this, 7 months until release. So in fact, like the whole time, like leading up during that 7 months, I keep making this 3D printed model. The printer's behind me. I'm mailing them out to people, including the ones you got, Autumn Brands. And I'm just thinking like, man, I wish the injection molded version was ready. Like I wish I could tell them about this awesome one that's about to come. I hope they like the 3D printed version, because it's like in my mind, it's already not my best product anymore. Like my best product is really in development, and but like during that kind of limbo state, I'm like, man, I hope this isn't costing me, but I can't not sell anything.
hey man,
But
I'm loving it, the model that you gave me. So I'm excited to see the new ones, but it's solid. But like props to you again, man, for always thinking about that and being innovative. Like, always growing it. And that's where too we have these, even our little joints. I'll put like 3 of these little 0.3 joints in one of the thing. And I told you I put the little chillum in there. I'm still playing with it, man, and having fun with the Hit Kit. But yeah, everybody I've given it to, the reaction's always really positive. Holy shit, what is it? Oh, you can light it too? Like when I light it for people, they're like, oh shit, like what's that? That's kind of the showstopper, I think, is the built-in light.
yeah, this is kind of funny, but that's stupid too. So like I think my top two, the flamethrower, the one you're talking about, is the bestseller. It's like the audience favorite. But my favorite is the Swiss kit. And anytime I show them to two people, like to someone who's never seen either, I show them both. And I'm secretly hoping that they like prefer the Swiss kit, but they're always clearly more impressed at the one with the lighter inside, the flamethrower. And so it's like yeah, I'm glad they like it, but I'm like, damn, that's not the one they're supposed to like.
Hey,
Um,
I haven't had the Swiss kit in my hand, but you know what I am a sucker for though? I was telling my buddy again, I'm for the magnet component. I love that. I got the stash tray, this Meister stash tray, is super cool.
hmm.
Everything's magnetic. You can move the jars and everything on there. I'm just a huge fan of magnets. I think there's so many, like I'm want to do like a little thing even on my nightstand with like a little magnet strip, put my phone on there, keys on there. I'm going off of magnets, but I'm just a magnet.
Dude, let's talk about magnets. Do you remember that Insane Clown Posse song? I don't not, no one should know their music, but they had that one, I think it's called Miracles, kind of dating myself, but and they had a line that said like fucking magnets, how do they work? And I remember they got like so much media attention from that because everyone's like, dude, they're retarded. They don't know how magnets work. Like, look how dumb Insane Clown Posse is. But you know what? They are right. I think Insane Clown Posse's right about magnets. They are miracles. And all these people who are criticizing them, they don't know how magnets work either. They're pretending like they know how magnets work. I don't think anyone knows how magnets work. like the physics can only explain so far. But man, yeah, magnets are special, and if you can't see that, then you're just missing out.
Yeah, that's well said. That's well said. Because yeah, I don't really know how they work. I just know that I'm like love the functionality of them. They're so cool.
Satisfying.
Yeah, yeah. There's something about like clipping something to a magnet. Yeah, this feels good.
It's interaction. It's kind of it's not exactly touching you, but it's kind of pulling you along. It's like you're having an experience with like an unseeable force, that is trying to help you out with whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah, because yeah,
So
yeah, you can feel it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I do like making things with magnets in them, but sometimes I have to avoid it because you got to glue them in each time. But
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
anytime you can like work a magnet into a design in a clever way, like you got it. That's so
Well,
yeah,
that's what I
I
was
think
thinking. I'm like, why don't we see more magnet stuff in general?
dude,
I feel like
magnet
it's
awareness. We need Magnet Appreciation Day. We need to inspire the next generation to make more things with magnets. If when I'm elected president, I pledge to make magnets great again.
Let's go. You got my vote. You
Vote
got
for
my
me.
vote. I'm at the
Cheers.
I'm at the poll right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like you got like the northern lights behind you, like
Like
your
yeah,
this purple.
I got this like curtain behind me, and then I just have like I got these like yeah, these little background lights, which have been great because I used to use like other style lights, and I have my sign put away and stuff. Like I'm in this
Hmm.
transitional phase, but trying to make it look cool if I can. But
It looks cool.
your background's
Look,
doper. I can see some 3D printing and kind of your what you do there. So
yours has like a sci-fi, like alien planet kind of vibe, like I don't know, from like some Marvel movie or something, like the lights like shooting up, alien sun, or maybe multiple suns back there.
hey, thank you. Yeah, when I flipped it on, this I think this is the second or third time I've kind of done this setup. It reminded me of the Aurora Borealis. I'm like, am I in Alaska right now or some
Yeah,
shit?
embrace it.
But I'm dude with magnets too, man. My girlfriend makes fun of me, but I'm like, I've always had this weird obsession with like light and light bulbs and just like old
Hmm.
school looking light. And maybe it's because I like film and stuff and always kind of chasing light in that way. But I don't know. I've always had this like love for lights, weird light bulbs, lamps. I'm like, why? It's weird. I don't know why, but I just like them. Like I'll buy them. I'm like, I want to buy this. I'll buy like an old school lamp, with the light in there. So I need to figure out how to do something with that. But it's a little.
Was it Anchorman where he says like I love lamp? Do you relate to that guy? Or I'm just kidding.
I don't remember that lie, but yeah, I'll go for I'll agree with that.
No, the lamps are pretty great. Like I feel like a lot of the best things are the things that people take for granted. And I mean, there was a time before we had lamps, and I don't know what they did back then, but life was probably a little different. Lamps are one of those designs that have stood the test of time. I don't think we're gonna get rid of them anytime soon either,
Which is
willingly.
crazy. Like I was listening to something about, just the sheer amount of inventions that Edison made, and it's like that guy was speaking of inventions and shit. That guy was just insane. Like you just like sleeping in his, quarters or whatever, and just cranking out whatever, how many, like I don't know. What I think about is like how is there since this time not been like another one? I guess they've been
Hmm.
such pivotal inventions. It'd be hard to make something as like it's almost hard to replicate something as important as light. I don't know.
Hmm.
Because that's what I
You
was
say
thinking. Is
like
why is there nobody that's been on Edison's level since him of like just sheer number of maybe there is and I just don't know. But
I think back then there was like a lot more low-hanging fruit instead of in terms of like things that could be designed. But like nowadays it's kind of like all the simple like back then you could be like a generalist designer and go like any which way. But now like on the frontiers of our like kind of technological society, it's like one person can't know everything. Like you got to be hyper specialized. Like there are certain problems out there where there might only be like a dozen people on the planet who even understand it, let alone who are capable of solving it. But like when I was doing that resin job, like I would kind of sit back and think, I'd be like, damn, like how many people on the planet even know what polyester resin is?
For
Like,
sure.
so I mean, if I stayed in that field, it's like I guess the only I'd become like hyper specialized in resin, and maybe if I was lucky, I'd be able to contribute there. But this is kind of interesting. That manager guy that I was working under, he was telling me back in when he was young working there, they were making like all these innovations left and right. And whereas like when I was working there, it's like, how can we make this half a penny cheaper? So I mean, it's like all the low hanging fruit got picked. Seems like to me like they got resin all figured out now. So I mean, I don't know when there's no innovation to be had or very little or I don't know, it kind of loses interest. But yeah, I think just kind of what I just said is kind of an example of like all these other industries. It's just all the easy stuff's been figured out. If you want to figure out something new now, you gotta get like 3 PhDs and yeah.
Well, and what's your thought too? Obviously, doing injection molding, the 3D printing, so you're using technology with your process of like, what's your thought though with AI in general? And are you thinking of ways to use it in your process, or how do you feel about it?
All right, so yeah, AI is definitely a force multiplier, and if you're a business of one, you need to be collecting as many force multipliers as you can. And I have been using AI. If you look at my website, Etsy page, like the main product image for all of them has an AI generated background, and they all look good. It kind of
Is the one
makes
you
them
sent me
uniform.
for Autumn Brand, sorry to interrupt, was that AI generated?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. And actually, this is another thing I do. Anytime someone buys a custom piece from me, like they supply the art, picture, whatever, um, I will take a picture of it when it's done, generate an AI background for it, and then send it to them as like saying like, "Hey, this is what I got coming." Like the other day, someone made something for his buddy's gym. I think it was like a gymnasium, like working out gym, right? So I took a picture of it. I told AI to make it look like it was on like a bench press thing with like treadmills in the background, and I sent it to him. I was like, "This is what it's going to look like in the gym." So you can so obviously like AI is good for like there's like product pictures, but I don't think what people have fully realized yet is that like AI can be used to enhance customer relations in that way, kind of create some excitement about your products. I mean, it is kind of personal. Like I could just send you like a picture and they'd be like, you'd be like, oh, that's cool. But if I send you something with like a AI generated background that looks cool, or maybe it looks kind of shitty, it's funny. Like
Well,
I feel like
the
I'm
one
gonna
you
get like a
sent,
better.
well, yeah, sorry, to your point, the one you sent me, I'm like, oh shit. I was like, Garrett's got a fucking whole studio too that he's shooting it. I was like, he's got his
It's
film
so
studio, like to your
easy.
point earlier. And that's where like, and I love what you said about the force multiplier. I haven't put it in that, you know, concise of words, but especially like you said, with being like a solo operation, anything you can do. That's why I'm a fan of it. I've used it for my video editing lately, writing some blogs, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, dude, when you sent me that picture, I legit thought that you took that on a background with like a little, I thought maybe you had one of those photo boxes or something, you know?
I do, but for
Yeah,
that
that,
picture, it was on the desk that this my phone is on right now. Nothing fancy in the background. Just
hey man, so it's working, bro. It's working, man. That's awesome.
yeah, it's I believe you've ever heard that change benefits those who can adapt.
I don't know if I
Um,
actually have.
anyway, I didn't make it up, but everyone talks about AI and how AI is gonna change everything. Blah blah blah. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. But like the people who are gonna make the most from it are gonna be the first to embrace it. So like, oh, it's gonna be. You should like hear that and be like, oh, it's gonna be important. It's gonna be huge. Well, it's like, well, I better know that then. I better know how to work with it. It's gonna be important. But I mean, if you're just kind of passively just kind of like watching, saying like, oh, what's it gonna do next? And you're not ever using it, engaging with it, like you're gonna fall behind. Like then you become the boomer mentality. So
Yeah.
the other day I was trying to look up ways to use it with like social media, Instagram, like just kind of seeing what's out there. Um, the other thing, like you mentioned blogs, I haven't done this yet, but I've been thinking about, I hate to do this, but like use AI generated blogs to improve the website's SEOs. My products show up in Google search engines better. It's not, I don't know how it'll work, but it's an idea I've yet to try, but I've been thinking about.
Well, that's what I've started to try to do because I love making videos. I'm just not a huge fan of writing blogs. So what I found
Mm.
is it's like al.write.ai or whatever, but I can take any of my old videos, that some of them I put a lot of love into. I just load up the link or the file, and then it kind of converts it into a nice article. So it's still like I like it a lot because it's so customized to what I made, and I don't need to do any writing. I make a couple editable tweaks, but it's just been a great. I've only done like 10 blogs from it, but I literally the other day, dude, in an hour, I'm like, let me see what I can do in an hour. I did like 10 blogs, but I already have the
Wait,
content. I did the hard work making the content, but
yeah.
it's
So
been
you're
dope.
telling me it basically just takes your video and like writes up like an article about it?
Yeah.
Oh man, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, it's sick, bro. I've been loving that one. So I need to use it more, but like that's exactly why I did it. I'm like, I have all this content basically just living on YouTube, and it could be deleted.
Please,
YouTube's like intense, so I'm like, I just need to keep building my own shit up more.
please use that on this episode and send me the article. I want to see
Yeah.
how it
Okay. Yeah, you
does.
inspire me. Yeah, I'll cut up, or yeah, I'll do a probably a nice clip. I'll do a couple clips from this. Usually, I used to post them on my other channel. I've been kind of switching it up, but yeah, and then I use this short one too. But yeah, and that's where every time I was telling my brother again, I'm like, dude, whenever I go online and I actually put like even an hour in looking for something to help me, I found it. It's kind of crazy. I'm like, oh, I found this blog thing. I found this video editing software. Like there's so much out there with it right now. It's just kind of fascinating and exciting. And I see why people are worried about it in the creative fields, but like you said, it kind of adapt or kind of die type deal.
My fiance's sister uses it heavily, like for all of her work emails. Like she writes whatever she would want to send to whoever it is, and then she doesn't have to worry about just kind of so much time like in corporate is like trying to write emails sensitively, so it's not like to hurt feelings and all that. But so she just writes it however she wants to, puts it in AI, and it polishes it up, makes it appropriate, and then she sends it. So, and here's the thing, she's been complimented on her like email writing and all that. It's like they have no idea. But but yeah, it's whether or not you like it, it's here. So use it or get left behind, I guess. I hate to put it that way, but
Yeah,
you gotta keep up.
it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, and like in I love that we're kind of on the same page. I just make the like silent film metaphor, and there's so many of them for other industry, radio, whatever. But for some reason, just being a film guy, I just love the silent metaphor of like when talkies came around and people are like, oh, that's never gonna work. It's like, well, now that's all that's here.
Who was that? He said that about the internet. Was it Paul Kruger? Some stock market analyst guy. He famously predicted that the internet would be no more revolutionary than the fax machine. He was a little off there. So I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is it's like who knows what it's going to become to. It's like right now we're just still trying to figure out what it can be used for, but probably far more than we can imagine, um, potentially.
Real well, and even like, dude, keep when I seeing your 3D printing behind you. I don't know how old those machines are, but when I first started seeing that or watching videos, and I guess that's kind of, I'm curious, what's kind of happening in that world? I know 3D printing's more and more prominent, but I feel like you don't hear as much about it as I would, a couple of years ago. Like maybe it's because it was kind
Yeah.
of a hype thing. It's still being used. Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, I guess kind of similar to AI, it was like touted as this thing that's going to change everything. And I guess it's kind of been a dud thus far. Like I know there's been like a lot of 3D printer manufacturers who just went out of business. And like honestly, like using them right now, it's not exactly layperson friendly. Like you got to be willing to take some time to get to know the machine and fix things when they inevitably break. So I mean, I think that's kind of what's held it back thus far. But as far as the future goes, um, like I guess in the immediate time, like if you're just trying to do like a small batch of something, um, injection molding is not exactly cost effective for small quantities, so it's good for that. Um, but oh shoot, I think I just lost my thought for a second.
Well,
Hang
and it
on, I got this.
okay, yeah.
But yeah, I think in the future it's gonna have its day because like we saw like with COVID, like supply chain disruptions and how like everyone ran out of toilet paper. Um, I think in times like that, like if you can just print whatever you need, like maybe you can't print toilet paper, maybe there's like maybe the cell phone case manufacturer got blown up and now we need cell phone cases, so we'll just print them. Like I don't know, you can like rapidly adapt and make things and it's flexible. Um, yeah, it's got its limitations though. Like there's some things that, yeah,
I
just
think like
injection
what
molding is better
yeah, like
product.
and like what you said too, I think is maybe for somebody like me who doesn't have an engineering background at all, like you're able to tweak the machines and adapt to them. Somebody like me, if I was trying to use those machines and something broke, I'd probably be like, what the fuck do I do? When
I
you probably like, oh, this is
wonder,
how I fix it. Bam, done.
I wonder how many people have like had their printer break and then they just never touched it again. Probably been a few times. But yeah, they say like I've like heard that like supposedly in 2040s, like a lot of manufacturing is supposed to come back to the US. Some think tank people think, but I think when it does come back to the US, it's like, do we just make a bunch of injection molding stuff, or do we just want to invest heavily into 3D printing technology? Because like the versatility of it is like a big asset. Whereas like the mold making, like every time you want to adjust something, you have to make an entirely new mold. Whereas like the printing, like I just adjust the file. So yeah, I guess in my little 3D printer fantasy, more manufacturing comes back to America, and then America decides that in order to have a, actually this is not going to happen. This is all fantasy. People are going to do the cheapest thing.
Well, when
Um,
you're with the cheapest thing too, I say it all the time in the cannabis industry too, is that's what happens when there's certain there's like so much innovation, but then there's always like the race to the bottom element where it's like people are just selling the same pre-rolls for, oh, we got to sell them cheaper, we got to make this cheaper, and then you lose some of that innovation. And some of the products too that I've seen have great innovation maybe aren't showed enough love because they are more expensive, they are more premium, but it's like, oh, people just it's easier to gravitate towards something that's maybe cheaper. I don't know. It's interesting to see the innovation happen, but at the same time, it not. I don't know if that makes any sense.
yeah, I see what you mean. But I mean, there's always going to be like a percentage of customers who just want the cheapest thing, and so long as that's the case, it's the race to the bottom. But it's never won. It's like always like another fraction of a cent. But
That's what like I'll say to people too who and I get that too. Like in the bartending for a long time showed me that I don't care how nice my whiskey was that I would offer somebody. Somebody just wants to come in and get their Jack and Coke. They've been drinking for 40
yeah,
years. So it's just funny too, like that, like finding that, I guess the market fit too, finding that right fit for your product is interesting.
I guess it's kind of a cultural thing, really. Like, I guess it kind of like reflects like on our culture that that market is so big. Just give me the cheapest thing. But I kind of feel like we see evidence of that stuff changing. Like I think about like with beer, it used to just be like the few big brands, the national brands, but now it's like craft beers everywhere, and it's flourishing. And like personally, it's like I don't want just like a regular Guinness or like Budweiser or whatever. Like I want something like local to this town. And I don't think I'm the only one who feels like that. And when I see like the flourishment of the craft breweries, I think maybe society's heading in that direction. Maybe there's hope for all that.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there with that. And I think that cannabis kind of is like that right now and will become more like that. Like you're saying, I feel like a lot of people maybe don't know, or like maybe the average customer doesn't realize, hey, this small batch strain was grown in a certain way. Just like, hey, this is a small batch beer. It costs this much, but this is why. I feel like the education and awareness of why is this $80, $80 eighth, which, you know, I have a hard time spending anything like that, but it's like, why is this so expensive? It's like, oh, like learning a little more, this is why. It's just an interesting thing in the cannabis industry for me.
Yeah, I guess if no matter what it is, in order to justify spending more on something, you got to have some understanding of why it's worth more. I guess it's all about, yeah, that perception of value. I guess like what I just said about craft breweries, I just said that because it's I guess it is kind of how it is over here. Like we don't have all the cannabis dispensaries here, but I'd imagine like I saw like with Autumn Brands, like their dedication to the cultivation of the most organic, natural thing possible. I'm like, oh damn, like I wish they had that when I was living out there. Like what I feel like I'm just missing out on the scene, you know? Like I'm doing this cannabis thing from the south, like from a distance. Like I'm really out of touch in a lot of ways, and maybe that's my benefit in some ways, but it's kind of like a disadvantage in others. Like I'm out here on an island.
Well, yeah, I think it can be a pro and a con, but I think like what you're doing is great though. And I think that what do you, or I guess what is going, I don't keep enough track of Georgia and legalities and stuff. Do you see it becoming, is there anything like on ballots or anything happening in the near future? Or is it kind of just going to be one of those things when it's across the nation, federal, that it might happen?
So I don't really pay much attention to specific fall stuff, but I know in terms of like people I know, just like consider me boots on the ground. Like I came back from the West to this area, and every time I told anyone about like what I was doing, Bond Company, like even if they were old, only a single person I knew was like not okay with it. So like on the ground level, like everyone's for it, even the old people, like left, right, conservative. I don't care what your politics are. Like every conservative person I know out here is for it. I don't know who's opposed to it, frankly. Probably
Kind of
like some
crazy, huh?
crooked. Yeah, so I can tell you, no, everyone here is for it. I don't know anyone against it. Um, but so I just kind of assume the legality here is inevitable. But beyond that, as to what we do have, it's been kind of interesting, like the evolution of this. Like at first they were like CBD shops, right? And I think they were just selling like CBD derived from hemp extracts. And then they started getting the CBD herb, and now they're just like, yeah. And then from there they figured out Delta 8, and then I think something else came along, but now it's like THCA. Like they keep finding like ways to get closer and closer and closer to what you have out west. Um, and anyway, at the point like the THCA, that's what I just smoked earlier. I like it. Like I mean, I would definitely prefer having like the option of something like West Coast nice grown, but I mean, to me, it basically feels like it's legal. I go to like the little CBD store right by the grocery store, and I mean, it's just it feels like a dispensary. They don't have as big of a selection as out west, but I mean, it basically feels legal. That's the situation. That's why I don't pay attention to the law stuff that much. I mean, it's it's pretty good. I'll take
That's
it.
well, that's good to hear. Yeah, that the all the different loopholes are interesting too. Like you're saying, I've been like diving in and geeking out with the dry weight loophole people are doing for Delta 9. You could basically, you know, make a concentrate as long as it weighs 0.3% or less of the edible. So you can
Mm,
still make a potent high from the Delta 9.
that's creative.
All these crazy ways, and all of it kind of stems back to the 2018 Farm Bill, I think, and just certain things that weren't addressed in there. And yeah, there's so much to it, or like this even rescheduling thing that might happen, the pros and cons of that. But yeah, I just like looking at it, keeping my eye out, ear to the ground, and I'm just seeing what's going on. And but I'm excited. I'm gonna have to check out one of those stores next time I'm in Georgia. Kind of check out some of that THCA flower and see what's good.
Yeah, it's I've been pleasantly surprised. Um, Yeah, it works. I've let this. Remember when I lost my train of thought earlier? That is proof. That's the endorsement right there.
So well, hey man, I appreciate you coming on today, bro. Think that, kind of bring it to an end here. But yeah, I truly have the utmost respect, man, for what you're doing, what you've created, your ingenuity, and just your genuineness. If that's even a word, the way you're going about your business approach, I truly respect, man. So appreciate you, and appreciate you hooking up the hit kits too, man. Thank you.
Oh man, it's been fun talking. Thanks for having me on. Think it's cool that you're doing this. Got a sweet background, and just want to give a shout out to magnets. I
Hey,
think
yeah,
you're right
hey,
about that
yeah.
too.
Hey, shout out magnets, man. And yeah, hopefully, dude, we do let's maybe try to connect, and we'll connect and see what we can do together, and see how I'll do some videos and stuff when you send that out. But yeah, let's try to connect in maybe a couple months, do another episode, and see how things are progressing with the new injection mold model, see what else you got going on.
Oh hell yeah, sounds good. This has
Cool,
been the
man.
first podcast I've done just like talking about this stuff. I've been trying to do other podcasts lately, but I've just been talking about Neanderthals. So
And what's that one
maybe I'll
called?
share that. Oh man, what do you talk about like interesting like would this be something you'd want on your show? You want to know
Yeah.
about Neanderthal predation theory?
Yeah, let's do an episode
It
about it.
is the most interesting thing that nobody knows
I
about.
don't know shit about it.
Yeah, it's good.
Hey, that's episode 2, dude. We'll start with that.
All right. I've already given the talk twice. I'm doing it a third time on Tuesday, so I'm getting good at it. I'm gonna become the preeminent expert of Neanderthal predation theory.
Nice,
That's
dude.
my little side thing. I know you're trying to wrap up, but quick thing.
We're chilling.
That's another thing I'm trying to do to get word out. Like a lot of conspiracy theorists, they also have appreciation for cannabis. So I'm trying to become a master of Neanderthal predation theory so I can make the rounds on all these podcasts sharing it. And at the end, let's plug HitKit real quick. But it's kind of fun. My goal is to make the world know this theory.
I love it, dude. And you know what popped in my mind? My buddy does a show called Highly Unlikely, where he brings on comedians, and they talk about highly unlikely facts, and it's super cool. I could see that being a cool episode, maybe. But I'm excited, man. So do you have your own podcast, or you go on other podcasts where you're talking about it? You're saying
I don't have a podcast. I've just been trying to be the guest. They're always looking
nice,
for someone to talk
nice.
about something new. The great thing about this talk, like if you listen to enough conspiracy podcasts, you get kind of tired of them. Like there's only so much politics you can get into. Like all right, whatever, everyone's corrupt, but cool. Another time, okay. So I mean, I've been like really getting into like the ancient history stuff. Oh man, it's fun to explore all that.
I love that
But
old school history.
anytime you can bring something new to the table, it's not like a rehash of the same old thing, like Bigfoot. Like it's it's refreshing. It's fun to stumble upon that new idea that you're like, holy crap, that is plausible.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you've piqued my interest, man. You got me excited for the next talk.
yeah, my next appearance Tuesday, I'm gonna be on the AI podcast that stands for Appalachian Intelligence.
Okay, nice.